In a day and age where loyalty is extremely rare inside of college sports, NC State might just have one of the most loyal guys out there.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Our Friday show is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off every Friday night, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. That's every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern, only on FanDuel. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. This week has been about a month long, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Crazy week. But I tell you what, it just got a whole lot longer if you're a fan of the Duke Blue Devils. Had to get on here and tell y'all about some debauchery that just went down within the ACC. Quarterback Darian Mensah has entered the transfer portal. It's expected that he will join Miami. Now, whether there's tampering or not, clearly there was. We'll get to that in a second. There's so many layers to this, Kenton, but I want to start here talking about CJ Bailey. Let's talk about our guy, because believe it or not, he was, I guess you could say, somewhat involved in this because he's a Miami kid. Miami's the one doing the tampering. I'd have to imagine that at some point over the last couple weeks, Miami had probably checked in with CJ to see what the temperature there was. But CJ chooses to come back to NC State. And I think especially on a day like today, that should mean a whole lot more to all of us Wolfpackers. The loyalty that he's putting on display coming back to NC State when a Miami kid is watching the Hurricanes play in the national championship on Monday. And again, maybe they came calling, maybe they didn't. But for CJ to look around and say, you know what? I got it good right here. I like my coaching staff. I like my teammates. I think we can build upon what we did this year and, go even harder in 2026. I want to run it back right where I am because being here and being connected and showing loyalty, that matters to me. Yeah, it should. And it should matter to all of us like tenfold. I want to give a gigantic, just honestly, a thank you to CJ Bailey, because in today's day and age with the portal and NIL and the arms race that some of these bigger programs will put on display, to see a guy come back to where he has grown these last couple of years. And again, we were one of the first teams to take a shot at him. Miami was late in his recruiting coming out of high school, and that was the big reason he picked us over the hometown Hurricanes. So I want to tell CJ Bailey, thank you. You are now forever, if you weren't already, you are forever one of us. And this loyalty and this character that you're putting forth, that means something to me. Thank you, CJ Bailey.
I want to also thank CJ Bailey, but I also want to propose, let's do the math for a second, okay? CJ Bailey is going into his what year next year, Grayson?
Junior.
Okay, so 2 years so far, freshman and sophomore year. Freshman year. So let's pitch a what if, right? I'm sure plenty of you have seen the Disney show What If, the little Marvel what if, where all of the different worlds happen and Peggy takes the serum instead of Steve Rogers, all that type of stuff. Let's do that for CJ, right? But let's do the what if he goes to Miami instead of NC State. Miami gets on late. He says, I'm a hometown kid. I want to play for the hometown school. All right, so his true freshman year, what would have been the difference for Miami, the school? What would have been the difference? You think they would have not went after Cam Ward? Because
I think they probably still would have gone after Cam Ward.
Okay, they still would have gone after Cam Ward. Okay. And then we come into year 2. You think they still would have went after Carson Beck after a freshman that did not play? Or after a freshman that did not play?
Tough to say. I'd imagine they would have looked at somebody.
Grayson, I have an answer for you. I have bad news for you. I have very bad news for you, right? This is a kid that up to that point, if we logically ration this out, he was not going to be QB1 because Cam Ward was the guy. He was not going to be QB2. Emory Williams was the guy. He might have been QB3. He might have beat out Nickel. He might have been QB3. He would not have had any live real game reps. And you've got Carson Beck on the line. Yeah, they're going to take Carson Beck.
Yeah.
So he would be going into year 3 doing what exactly?
Probably transferring out.
Transferring out. Okay. I mean, again, this is not a knock. I am also grateful for CJ Bailey sticking around, but I'm saying in the what if where this was one of those things, it worked out for everybody. It worked out for everybody. I mean, it worked out because he came to NC State, and because he came to NC State, when Grayson McCall had the concussion that ended his career, he became the starter. He became the starter after the concussion. It was a bit rocky, but we had our moments. Cool. And then year 2 comes in. He's the definitive starter for an entire offseason. He looks exponentially better than he did in year 1. Great. There were still some rocky moments in year 2, but he looked a lot better than he did in year 1. And now all of a sudden, people are taking notice saying, wait a minute, that arm talent, wait a minute, the angles that which he can release, wait a minute, the way that he moves and release. So this is a situation where NC State has benefited, not denying that. Because without him coming for NC State, what does the world look like, right?
Yeah.
When Grayson McCall goes down, sexy Lexi, get on in there. Hey, the Thomas family got another shot to pull their name in this university, and that's where we would have been last year. And then Lord knows what happens from there. So ultimately, I look at this and I say, pretty much everybody was made better here. Miami had another scholarship to use wherever they would so pleased to use it. NC State got their starting quarterback of the future. CJ Bailey got to start. So everybody pretty much was made better by this. And in today's, like you said, in today's world of NIL and all that, this is the biggest thing I would say thank you about. Unless now we know Ty Simpson and his family have been known to say some things because they said that he was mocked as only a first rounder. Nobody said he was a second rounder, which some about that doesn't quite pass the smell test. You know what I mean? It don't even pass the dad checking out a used car, kick the tire test. It don't even pass that test all that good, right? But if that number was even 80% true, that's still, I mean, Darian Mensah is still going to go and make a significant amount, probably get a raise at Miami. And we know the $4 million is the $4 million and all that. And we know that 80% of $6 million is not more than $4 million. I don't believe so, at least. But the reality is Darian Mensah ends up in a place where he's going to go get what he wants from them and all that. And as whether or not it was tampering, that's another part of this thing that's very interesting. And, you know, people are talking about this destroying college football. One, I do agree to that. I do agree that stuff like this is hurting college football. Make no bones about that. I said that on Locked On Canes and Locked On ACC today when we went live. This is objectively not good for college football. However, you cannot be mad at a team for taking advantage of the rules. If this is allowed within the rules, well, yeah, you can be mad at them for it, but you're the old man shaking your fist at the cloud at that point. You know, this is what college football is now. Sure, Grayson and I cannot go around, or let me not say that. I'll give you a perfect example. Gavin Locklear is the tight ends coach at NC State. He cannot go around to running backs and tight ends around America and say, hey, the entire tight end room is gone and Hollywood Smothers is gone. You know, we'd love to have you here if they're not in the portal. That is tampering. However, I, as an alum, former player, podcaster for the team, Grayson Boone, former alum and player on the club baseball team, if we were to say, hey, you know what? Locked On Wolfpack wants to put together a little package for any wide receiver, for any running back that wants to come here, it's within the rules. It's within the rules. Now, granted, don't get no bright ideas, okay? We ain't getting paid like that. You know, Mr. Lock paying us. He ain't paying us like that.
Real quick, one thing about me, I will tamper. That's me. I'll tamper.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's not – while you're saying you will tamper, in all fairness, according to the NCAA, you will legally entice a player. That's what it is. You are legally – we are within our rights to go around. Hey, Justice Haynes, man, we see you leaving Michigan. You don't want to go to Georgia Tech. You don't want to go down there. We got plenty of carries for you right here at NC State. We could do that legally, right? That's just the deal. And if their biggest boosters, their biggest alums, their biggest, NIL collective players are out there actively campaigning, whatever the case may be, who are we to get mad at them? All we can do, or All we can do, you can get mad at them, but again, I think it's a waste of your energy to get mad at a team for playing within the rules. It's like getting mad at the tush push, in my opinion. It's a stupid play. I think it's ugly, but the rules don't stop it, so your behind got to find a way to.
Yeah. All right, here we go. We have a lot more meat on this bone, so I'm going to push stanza B into stanza C. I got more to talk about on this saga. So coming up next, we're going to keep on the same subject. Stick with us after a quick word from our sponsors. And I mean, you can't make this up. Remember what I was saying about having to read a Rugiet ad after something good happens for NC State? Today's sponsor is Rugiet Ready. Let's talk about something that most men, well, they don't really want to bring it up, but they absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life, sometimes just doesn't switch off at night. And that's when it shows up at the worst possible time. Rugiet Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rugiet Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. The science behind Rugiet Ready stands out. It's 3 clinically proven ingredients in one formula designed for both mental and physical readiness. You can connect online with a board-certified doctor, and everything you order will ship discreetly to the comfort of your front door. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch, and if you're up for it, you could be next. If you've been thinking about taking that next step, now is the time. Head on over to Rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's Rugiet, Rugiet, Rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, to get 15% off of your order for a limited time. That's Rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. Rugiet Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. All right, middle portion of our Friday show. Like I said, I got more to say on this Darian Mensah saga. If you didn't hear me loud enough in the first part, thank you to CJ Bailey. Your loyalty is very much appreciated, because I want NC State fans to think about this for just a second. And in fact, you really don't have to think about it that hard, because this is something we experienced a calendar year ago. For Duke, as a Duke football fan, your world has to be crushed right now, because it kind of feels like the most important piece to your 2026 team is now gone with mere hours before the portal window expires. That's midnight on Friday night. We're currently recording this at 6:30 p.m., which maybe I shouldn't be talking this much because there's still time on the clock, but I feel good about where NC State is at. I say all that to say, for Duke to watch that team slowly disintegrate now in kind of a moment's notice, NC State fans, again, think about this. Miami is playing in the national championship. They've put their program on display for weeks now, and CJ's from that area. For CJ to run it back with the Pack, that's such a massively important piece to everything we're trying to do here at NC State. The program and the team we're trying to put on the field in 2026, CJ is arguably the most important piece of that. And so to keep him here, it's a really big deal. Okay, enough about CJ. Moving forward now, objectively as I can here, because I won't lie, past Grayson, he might have giggled a little bit when he saw Duke lost their quarterback. He's tired of losing to those guys. He wants to beat Duke. By past Grayson, I mean 3 hours ago. That was me 3 hours ago. I laughed a little bit. It is what it is. Now, as a college football fan here, this is some BS. And Kenton, I hope I don't lose our clean rating because I'm fired up about this. This is BS.
Go for it.
For Miami to put themselves in a poor situation to try and find a quarterback, and maybe they've been preoccupied with winning playoff games. That's a good thing for them. But for it to come down to the 11th hour here, and they're basically just slinging money bags all over the country, trying to get somebody to move their feet before this portal window closes. And I'm sure Darian Mensah was not the only person they went to. I'm sure CJ Bailey, allegedly, if that happened, was not the only guy they went to. I mean, they had Sam Levitt in the building, what was that, a week ago? They're slinging money bags trying to find the most valuable quarterback they possibly can right up against this deadline. In my opinion, that's poor planning on Miami's part. And to Kenton's point, they're talking about, the sport is kind of broken in a sense. It is, because if I'm Duke for the third time now, this is BS, man. You're not going to take my quarterback with 4 hours left before this window closes. After last year, we signed, a 2-year, $8 million deal? That is trash. That's absolute garbage. And for that to occur on a more frequent basis now in college sports, it's awful. This is the stuff people are talking about when they're saying, man, college sports, it's losing me. This is not what it's supposed to be about. It's getting too commercialized, and we're losing recipes here. What happened to the game that we love? This is the crap that they're talking about. And so for Duke, if I'm in the Duke program, I am going to do everything short of like physically handcuffing Darian Mensah to the locker room and saying, okay, well, if you want him, you're going to come get him, because this is trash and we're not letting this happen. Now, I also saw in the report that Duke has control over Mensah's NIL agreements and that Duke is the only one that can void that, so to speak. So if I've read everything correctly, I believe Duke can do a full Washington with Damon Williams type thing right here. They can say, no, this is not going to happen. We're not signing off on this. Darian will be our quarterback in 2026, and Miami, shove it, if for lack of a better term here. I think Duke will be able to do that. I guess we'll see how that plays out. But this is trash. This is trash. I hate this on an objective scale for the sport of college football, for a team to just be in a bad spot, but they have a lot of money, so they can just sling a huge bag of money at somebody and say, hey, we only got a couple of hours left. You do want to come play for Miami, right? You see what we're planning on Monday, right? Yeah, that could be you next year. How about it? We know you signed a contract and, that's all fine and dandy, but how about we pay you more? How about we give you more incentives to sweeten the deal? What do you think, man? That's trash, man. He's already re-signed to go back to his school. This is tampering to the highest degree. I'm fired up about this. One more. Thank you, CJ Bailey.
Here's the thing, Grayson. I 50% agree with you. In terms of This is destroying college sports, yes. I will 1,000% grant you that. I am not about to sit here and lie to you and say, oh, what? This doesn't make college sports any less endearing. That would be a lie. I'm not a liar. I don't want to lie to you. But the part of this that I will say I want to push back on a little bit is the idea that, well, he signed and first of all, the idea that they could do everything short of handcuffing him to the locker. He's allegedly been in Tampa Bay training for the past couple weeks. Duke's academic year started January 7th.
Oh, boy.
He ain't been there.
Oh, boy.
He ain't been there. Now, that's what the reports are, and the report was told to me by Alex Dono, who is my co-host on Locked On ACC, is the host of Locked On Canes. So I just want to throw that out there, but Dono has never been the type to lie to make the Canes look good. That's just not
Dono's the best. I know he wouldn't lie. He's the best.
That's what I'm saying. So if he's been training in Tampa for weeks and missed their deadline to start school, this has been something that has been in the works for Darian for quite some time. This is not a new thing. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. I agree. And here's the other thing. If you are a fan, urge your coaches, urge your administrators, urge the NCAA, urge the players to sit down and collectively bargain. We will continue to see stories like this while it is the Wild Wild West. I am all for player empowerment. And people can say, well, Ken, this is at your feet. That moments like this are at your feet. Moments like NBA players or two-way players coming back to play in college is at your feet. And guess what? I'll take that every day and twice on Sunday. I'll take that every day and twice on Sunday. As a guy with a torn bicep or with a surgically repaired bicep and 2 surgically repaired Achilles, I can tell you, if you think the value of never running or jumping as high as you would again is a college scholarship, I don't know about that, especially in today's world where a bachelor's ain't what it used to be. So ultimately, these players getting paid and the player movement and freedom of movement and all that, I think it has gone off the deep end. I am not denying that at all. But if you're asking me which extreme I would have, the extreme we have now or the extreme where nobody gets paid, everybody's an amateur except everybody around the players. Every single person in the building is a professional except the guys that are going to walk away with the shakes, except the guys that are going to walk away with shoulders that look like the Hellboy is coming out of the back of them, except the guys that cannot remember where their home is and they're 3 exits away from their house at their job. I'm sorry. I'm never going to say those guys don't deserve it. I'm never going to say that. So again, I do agree with you, Grayson. This is destroying college sports. I don't want anybody to hear me saying, oh, this is a good thing for college sports overall. It's not. But for the labor force of college sports, for the people that make college sports happen, because with all due respect, there is a world where nobody decides to pay anybody, where your college decides to be the one that's not paying. Do you want to see, and let me take my hat off for this one. I need to look at y'all dead in the eye. No hat, no headphones here. Do you want to see NC State football playing when they're not paying anyone? Would you like to see Will Wade and company go out there with a budget for their roster of $0? Would you like to be the first ones in that movement to swing the pendulum back? No.
I'm going to pass on that.
I'm good. I'm all set. It's like when I see green bean casserole anywhere. I'm overly good, actually. Overly good. I've never wanted that. So the reality of this thing is simple. If you're going to hate something, hate the game, don't hate the player. Hate the rules as they're set up. Don't hate on Miami because, again, the idea of tampering, the NCAA has made it so loose. Of course, I still have great connections with many coaches that are still on the staff today. I've been asked by coaches on the staff about, hey, this player's from your neck of the woods. Do you know anything about him? Do you know? And I've answered honestly every single time. I've had conversations with people inside the building about different players or different situations of what's going on. And me and Grayson can still legally go out and say, hey, man, come on. You rushed for 2,000 yards at Colorado Mesa. Listen. Come on over to NC State, man. What you doing up there in Delaware, man? Don't nobody like that winged helmet. Come on down to NC State, brother. FAU, more like PU. Come on to NC State. We can do that. And it's legal. Is it right? Is it fair necessarily? Obviously, if Grayson or I had Jim Goodnight money, I feel like the roster would look a little bit different, but that's neither here nor there.
Brother, if I had Jim Goodnight money, there would be signs.
There would be signs.
Y'all would know if I had Jim Goodnight.
There would be signs.
We'd never lose a game. We'd never lose a game if I had Jim Goodnight money.
People would be talking about, what is Jordan Seaton doing in the press box with Ken Gibbs? Hey, worry about yourself. Worry about yourself, okay? Me and the big fella both enjoy Beyonce a lot. We wanted to go to the Cowboy Carter tour. What do you want from us? We were backstage for a little bit. You know, I'm good friends with the Knowles Carter family. What do you want from me? You know, that's just what it is, right? It's easy to be on the side of like, oh, this is all wrong. This is all bad. Again, this is bad for college sports in general. Not denying that, but I'm just saying it's a old man throwing your fist at the cloud to blame Miami for the NCAA's very lax rules around what is tampering. Because to me, I don't think that I, as an alum, should have the ability to go out there and go to bat for NC State 2 plays. I don't think that I should have the ability to do that and it not be tampering. I don't think so just because I'm a podcast guy or I'm not officially in the building that I should have the ability to do that. But that's what the NCAA makes it out to be. So if that time comes, and you know, people have seen me tweet at players like C.J. Sadler telling them, don't go over to the Dirty Foot Club. You missed the football in Michigan. What you want to go play for that school for? You know what I mean? I ain't nothing to do. But the reality of it is, again, even if CJ were to decide, oh, I don't want to go there anymore, I'm going to flip based on what Ken said. Okay, and you can say NC State tempered, but I'm just a guy talking to another guy very innocuously. So ultimately, you know, what Miami is doing, they're within the rules. They're within their rights. I can't blame them.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you laid it out that way because I think what I couldn't explain that well is my anger is more toward the NCAA than it is Miami. Now, like I said, I think they put themselves in a bad situation to have to scramble around and try and make somebody move their feet here with hours left on the clock. But to Kenton's point, they are within the rules. As dirty as you feel as it is, you know, I guess it is what it is. But the NCAA, you got to do something about some of this. You have to figure out a different route for, you know, players getting poached with hours on the clock, millions of dollars flying everywhere for kids that have already signed a contract to stay at the school that they're at. That part, all this, that's trash. This is unsustainable for college sports moving forward. Not just football, but basketball, everything. The model as it is not sustainable for the future growth of these sports. It is a disaster. And it's a shame that they opened Pandora's box without regulations on this type of stuff because, again, if I'm Duke, my world has just crumbled before me. Who knows, like, what else they're going to lose before midnight strikes on the clock? They might lose half the team to get in the portal at this point. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But I expect Duke to fight tooth and nail. If I'm Duke and I have to file that paperwork, I would hire a live sloth from the zoo, a sloth like the animal, I'd put him in a polo and stick him behind the cubicle and say, okay, Darian can leave when this paperwork is signed by this here sloth. I hope it's before August. Good luck. I would go scorched earth if I am Duke. God forbid that something like this ever happens to NC State. It did on a smaller level for us last year, talk about the secondary, but if CJ Bailey were to do this to us at the midnight hour and leave our team basically shattered here, NC State fans, be thankful. Like I said, be thankful that that is not us today.
And the last thing I want to say before we get into these grades, the same way that I say don't hate the team that they're going to, if anything, I'm a big believer in blame the team they're leaving. The same way I did with our secondary when that mass exodus happened. Grayson, was there a single guy that I said, oh my God, you betrayed the trust? You did. I was a little shocked that Cisse had signed whatever NIL deal with and then left. But I said, hey, more power to all these guys. You know why? It's incumbent upon your program to make your play so appealing. Guys don't want to leave.
Yeah.
It's incumbent upon you. Oh, Darian left for more money. Okay, we'll pay him more money, match the other guys. Well, we got the money. Okay, but he wants to play for a championship. Okay, so put a championship roster around him. I don't like, he's leaving for different weather or whatever. Okay, well, you can't fight that. You can't stop the rain. That's just what it's going to be. He's leaving to be close to home. Okay, you can't stop that. Whatever. For me, it's a very simple equation of if you are a team that wants to retain your players, create an environment for retention. Create an environment where you're paying out at above market rate and you're competing for championships. And to me, if you accomplish those two things, which I know it's easy to say on paper, right? It's like saying that benching 315 is just get under 315 pounds, put it on your chest and push it up. Yes, it's easier to say than to do, right? Right. But exactly, Grayson could definitely do it. Likewise. But at the end of the day, that's going to be my thing for the team. Create an environment that players don't want to leave. And if you cannot create that environment, do your best with what you got. And when players decide to leave, because again, you know what your environment is. You know how close you are or not to a championship. And even if you're delusional about it, the results have shown you, okay? Because when Indiana hired Sig, I'm sure that he was like, yeah, we're really close to a championship. And everybody probably laughed at him. And look now, old Sig in Indiana is in a national championship game. So it ultimately, when you come in your coaching, or not even when you come in, when you've been a place for a while, whatever the case may be, if you are a head coach somewhere, if you are a position coach somewhere, if you are a coordinator somewhere, and the thought is, well, I'm pissed at my players leaving, and how could they do this? And we were loyal to them. I agree. You're a human. You're allowed to have whatever feelings you want. But while you have those feelings, I want you to process and reflect. Did I create an environment that him leaving is a head scratcher? Because there have been guys that have left NC State where I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You probably need to hang on for dear life, brother. And I asked the coach, hey, did y'all push him out the door? And no, we ain't push him out. He decided to leave. And that's just what it was. But ultimately, what I'm saying more than anything else, this is indicative of the chaos that is college sports now. This is indicative of the fact that we have something worse than free agency. Because at least in free agency, you know who's coming free every year. You know, oh, this guy's on an expiring contract. In professional sports, and like an extension hasn't been signed, he's going to be a free agent. In college, guys are signing for 2 years, leaving after one. Guys are signing for a year and then leaving after a month. It's the wild, wild west, and this needs to be reined in. But I prefer this system to the system of nobody getting paid, and I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, don't hate the player in this sense. Hate the game, because the game right now is broken, and by that I mean the NCAA. So craziness, absolute craziness that Duke quarterback Darian Mensah is reportedly going to enter the portal, reportedly going to be a Miami Hurricane. I guess we'll see how that plays out. Like I said, if I'm Duke, I would drag this out. I'd be so obnoxious. I'd go scorch whatever it takes.
I agree.
I expect them to fight tooth and nail, much like Washington did for Damon Williams. So we'll see how this plays out. But again, until I guess that clock strikes midnight tonight, just be thankful for the loyalty and the character that CJ Bailey put on display for NC State this offseason. For all of us Wolfpackers and all that we've been through decades of this, that, and the third, to watch a guy want to be here and try and build his own program here, that should mean something to you. I know it most certainly does to me. Coming up next, we're going to switch gears and talk some NC State basketball. They've been off all week. I've been yearning for some Will Wade hoops. Let's give out some mid-season grades because they are at the midpoint of the year, just before they get back on the horse and play Georgia Tech on Saturday. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Friday sponsor is FanDuel. The NFL divisional round is now here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them right inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you love the most. These boosts will let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or just flat out coaching. The boosts will give you more juice on the bets that you already love instead of forcing you to try out something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts will make your bets feel that way too. So visit FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day, only on FanDuel. Last couple minutes of our Friday show, switching gears, like I said, onto the hard court. We are technically at the midway point of this men's basketball season, which is kind of crazy to think about. We've already played out half of a season, but let's give out some midterm grades. We'll have a front court section and a back court section. Just an overall grade of the performance we've seen up to this point. Kenton, we'll start with the front court. So that's Ven-Allen Lubin, Moussa Sanye, Jerry Dang, and whoever else you want to lump in with the front court. What's your grade?
So similarly to how I did this for football, we're doing it for basketball in the same way. I'm not doing it against expectations. I'm just doing it against how you have performed, period, right? And with that in mind, I would give our front court about a B-. I think a B- is where I sit on the front court because while this front court has had moments of brilliance, right? I mean, we saw Ven-Allen Lubin get a career high 4 blocks in an ACC game a couple of games ago. We've seen Darian Williams absolutely go nuclear and say, hey, this game's over. I'm taking it over now and lighten it up. And we've seen him play us back into some pretty tough games there, like he did against Kansas down the stretch, where he was cold as ice to start the game off, but he finished hot as fish grease. But the reality is, I would say a B- because there's been a lot left to be desired. Like, while they have been overall a net positive, there has been a lot to be desired in terms of, for me, it's always about you've got to be good at something. And our front court, I mean, is it rebounding? Not really. Is it rim protection? Not really. We have some good scorers in the front court. We have some pretty good stretch guys in the front court. But even then, Jerry Dang has been out of the lineup virtually for quite some time. And it's like, what's going on there? We see flashes from Abube. He's not really in the lineup like that. He's the one that brings the physicality a lot. What's going on there? Same thing with Sanye. So ultimately, I'd say a B-, but that's not, I don't want nobody to hear a B- to say, oh, he thinks these guys stink. No, B- means, again, a C is like, we can replace you with just about any front court and you'd be all right. A B is like, oh, you're above average, good front court. A to A+, you're the type that's going to get us home to a national championship. I think a B could get you home to a conference, to a NCAA tournament, if not a little inside the bubble. And I think that's where our front court has been, like a little less than if everybody played with it at this level, they get us to the tournament.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And I also find it funny that every time we do this, we almost always have the exact same answers. But I had a B-. I think the front court has been a B- for this team up until this point. And, Ven-Allen Lubin coming over from the DFC, and heavy criticism come from both sides, in large part of the comments that Wade made over the summer that when he plays 28+ minutes, he's going to average 15 and 9. For a while there, he was actually right on that point, and I think it's kind of tapered off just a touch. But on the whole, Ven-Allen Lubin averages about 26 minutes per game, currently averaging 12.7 points and 6.6 rebounds. It's pretty good, not to mention on 67.2% from the floor. That is solid. Now, again, we didn't expect Ven-Allen Lubin to come here and be Shaquille O'Neal or insert any dominant big men ever. We didn't expect that from him, but we did expect him to increase his usage and be a very efficient player. And up to this point, he absolutely has. And he's had a couple double-doubles on the season so far. I think he's been very good in some pockets of the season. I think he's giving us ultimately pretty much exactly what we asked for. So I think he's been really good for us. Mensah Sanye, we've kind of had a little bit here and a little bit there. I would like to get more out of him. If he can, establish a little bit more consistency, that will only raise the floor of that front court. Mensah Sanye is averaging 2.8 points, 3.6 rebounds. He's kind of found himself in foul trouble a couple times, but he's given us some really good minutes when he's been out there. So, yeah, all told, Scotty Abube has made a couple hilarious appearances. He'll foul out in literally 5 minutes, but he gives you that energy that you're not getting all over the floor. Mentioned Darian Williams, but I'm going to lump him in with the backcourt because I think he's been playing that point forward, as Wade calls it. So I'll touch on that in a second. But I agree with you. I think the front court it's been about a B-. Now, the backcourt, how would you grade them?
I would say they're in the B+, A- territory. They're in that territory for me.
We're in agreement again.
This group, Quadir Copeland, who could have predicted? Who could have predicted coming into the season, not only is he going to be a defender that gives you a lot, he's going to be offensively giving you the goods in terms of being your leading assist guy, being a guy that's somehow turned into a striker from deep, somehow a guy that, is also finishing well around the rim. And then you've got Trey Holloman also finishing well around the rim. Matt Abel being who he is as a young guy that is always, you're always pleasantly surprised for the most part. It's very rare to see games that he doesn't impact in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And Allen Breed coming along is what that's what leans me towards A-, because it's like, man, every guard that comes in, they figure it out and they do well here. And Paul McNeil Jr., he's had some low lows, but he's had some high highs. He had some highs that you just don't see. So ultimately, I'd say B+, A- territory. If I had to go with one, I guess I would have to say B+, only because in the really big games, you tell me, Grayson, am I missing something? Has there been a big game where our guards absolutely took it over, even if we lost, but our guards just took it over and it was like, oh man, if our front court gave us a little more, we'd be all right here?
The answer is no, but a better answer would be not yet. And I think there's plenty of room for improvement on that front. We're going to have many more big games coming down the pipeline. But no, I'm with you. I'm also at a B+. And I think there's just been too many inconsistencies. And to Kenton's point, they haven't really taken over a big game or achieved a big win quite yet. Darian Williams has had some struggles, but these last couple games, he looks like he's starting to figure it back out again. Paul McNeil's been kind of streaky, but he has been, when he's on, a dynamite three-point shooter, and we're hoping to keep him consistent as well. But there's just been a couple times where the scoring, it's been a little bit stale at some pocket. And more consistency would not only raise that grade up into the A category, but you probably would have beat Kansas. You probably would have beat Texas. Maybe you beat Seton Hall. And, think about how those 3 wins would drastically change how everyone feels about the team currently. But, they've been good, but not great. And I think, the large portions of the fan base, they were expecting great. And that's where some of the loud majority on Twitter has been very upset about some of this play. And I don't think they've achieved an A grade. I do think they're at a B+. They've been good. And in some games, they've been really good, but they haven't quite unlocked that full potential yet. And like I said, there's still time to do that. So hopefully we see that sooner than later. But, Matt Abel's been a pleasant surprise for us, a true freshman, giving us some really good minutes in some pockets. Trey Holloman, who will be back available on Saturday against Georgia Tech. He's been one of our best three-point shooters. You already talked about Quadir Copeland. He's been simultaneously the glue guy and the engine for some games on the season so far. There's so many names that you can throw out, which is a really good problem to have. And Terrence Arsenault, if he can turn it on here in these next couple of games and, get him hot moving down the stretch as well, who knows? This team could look entirely different from the season beginning to season end. But I think for what it is right now, at the midpoint of the season, it's been about a B+. Room to improve, could be a whole lot worse. And I think this team, like I said, I like where they're at right now. So a B- for the front court and a B+ for the back court. I thought about giving coaching grades, but I think we should probably save that for the end of the season. So we'll touch on that later on. So those are the midterm report cards for NC State men's basketball. They will be back in action on Saturday at noon inside the Lenovo Center. They are a 15.5-point favorite over the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. That is a game that you absolutely must handle your business. That will do it for us here on Friday. Like I said, much talk about. Had to get back in front of y'all. It's been a crazy week, but the week is now coming to an end. Thank you all for rocking with us as always. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you all back here on Monday for more. And until then, go Pack.